It's holiday time again, and with it comes family and get-togethers, a cold, and delicious food, and I think I've got all of them. Today's video highlights 3 amazing side dishes that are sure to please everyone, including the cook, because they are delicious and beautiful, and even more importantly around the holidays, they are quick. Are you ready? Alright, it's time to cook. Our first recipe is maple roasted Brussels sprouts with sweet potatoes, cranberries, and pecans. Listen, this one comes together pretty quickly, so it might look like a lot of things, but it really isn't. We're going to start with a pound of Brussels sprouts that you've washed well, peel off any of the yellow leaves, and just chop them in half. You don't want them really small, you just want them in half because we want to be able to roast them and be able to take a nice bite out of them. We're also going to chop up the sweet potatoes. We're using sort of baby sweet potatoes. I pulled them out of the ground not too long ago, so they did not get a chance to completely mature, but the skin is really, really thin, and so I'm going to leave the skin on there. You can always eat the skin of a sweet potato, but when they're baby sweet potatoes, it is just tender. Just make sure you chop these all up so that they're around the same size. That way they roast all at the same time. Throw them in the bowl with your Brussels sprouts. We're going to put another item in there, which is our red onion. I love red onion over white onions for this particular meal. I like them because red onions give it a little pop of color. Color also means nutrients, so there's a lot of nutrition in here, but also it's a little sweetness with the red onions. I'm not going to dice them. I want to keep them large. In fact, I want them right around this size because you're going to see in a minute that I'm going to take them apart so that I undo the layers, but I really like the size of this one. We want different textures in this meal. We want different colors, different flavors, and we're going to get all of that when we add these onions in our bowl with the other items. So right now we have our Brussels sprouts chopped in half on the bottom. We have our diced sweet potatoes with the skin on, and then we are topping them with the onions, which we're taking apart so that we get all the flavors through every layer of that. I realized that I'm gonna need a little bigger bowl because I want to make sure that all of my seasonings, my wet and dry flavors are gonna touch each of these pieces, and I don't want to miss anything. So I put them in a little larger bowl, and I'm gonna make sure that I have all that I need. Let's also add to that a cup of some fresh cranberries. You could use frozen cranberries, but I wanted to go with fresh. We're going to pop some salt in there as well, and then a little bit of pepper and cinnamon, and the olive oil. I made this a little easier. I did equal amounts of olive oil, maple syrup, and balsamic vinegar. And so this is a really quick and easy recipe for you to remember. But you adjust it. When you get your recipes, you adjust it how you like. If you like less oil, then put less oil. If you want it to be a little sweeter and crisp up in the oven, then you can add a little bit more olive oil, a little bit more maple syrup. I chose to add 3 tablespoons of each. And the last is some good balsamic vinegar. As a matter of fact, I believe I used a Cabernet Sauvignon, and this one, I get ordered in from California. But listen, the flavor is incredible. You saw how thick that is. This is going to stick to all of the pieces in here. I'm going to end this with a cup of pecans. I didn't crush them up too much. I just hand crushed them because I still want some depth and breadth on there. I want to have some big chunks, and I like them to be different types of chunks too. So we're going to mix all these together so that our wet ingredients mix with our dry ingredients, and all of it coats every single morsel in this bowl. Okay, you want the cinnamon to be able to not only be smelling wonderfully, but you want to taste hints of cinnamon and all those other things. We're going to put this on a pan, but I thought twice about this. I know I have oil in there, but I just wanted to spray the pan down a little bit just to be sure that nothing sticks. And then we're just going to pour it right on the pan. Now, the trick to roasting vegetables is to make sure that you don't have too much on the tray so that they roast. I probably could have done 2 trays here, but I didn't want to dirty up anything else. So I put it all in one pan, and I made sure it was very well spread out. If you have too much in a pan, you're going to end up steaming your vegetables, and they'll get kind of soft. I wanted to roast them so that they kind of crisp up and got really nice and golden and, still stayed firm. First recipe done. Only took us a few minutes. We're going to wipe down and move on to number 2, our corn cake casserole. This recipe is my favorite, my kids' favorite, and I'm telling you, it's the quickest of all of them. It only has a couple of ingredients, starting with a box of Jiffy Mix, a third of your dairy-free milk, an egg replacer. I'm using you could either use chia seed or you could use flax egg. I also have a can of whole corn and a can of cream corn. That's it. You can make this recipe in a minute and a half, maybe 3 minutes, depending on how much stirring you want to do. But really, you just throw them all in there, mix them up well, and you're finished. I will sometimes put maybe a cup of cheese in here, like a dairy-free cheese. I've seen people put in peppers, whatever, but this is exactly how I like it. You're going to get a 9x13 pan, spray it down so nothing sticks, pour it in your pan, and make sure you spread it nice and smooth, unless you like all the bumps and lumps in there. But listen, you can't get much quicker than this corn cake casserole, and this is a regular in my home. A regular. But this recipe is number 2, finished in less than, 7 minutes total in the oven. Both of those will go in the oven on 425 for about 25 minutes. And while they're cooking, we're going to move to recipe number 3, our crabless stuffed mushrooms. These are showstoppers, and I'm sure you're going to love them. Let's start with a smaller pan for this one. It's my sort of a half of the 9x13. But the important thing you want to know here is to wash your mushrooms, okay? Or at least take the things off the outside, the dirt off the outside. These are grown in a medium that you really don't want to be eating. So you're going to see here, I tried a couple different ways. I do not submerge my mushrooms in the water, but usually I'll just wipe them off. But I had a lot, and so I figured, well, let me just, put them underneath the water. It wasn't working the way I wanted it, so I tried a couple different things. Ultimately, you just want to make sure you get that dirt off of them, okay? And then snap the centers out also, okay? This particular recipe, we're going to be stuffing these caps, so we need to get rid of the centerpiece, but it comes out pretty easily. And I don't throw those away. I mean, that's a mushroom, so I will save those and chop them up and put them in a scramble, or just saute them with some vegetables, or however you want to do it. But make sure you wash them, put them in the pan, and it's on to the stuffing. Now the center of our stuffing is really going to be hearts of palm. Okay, this is the big thing that we use. Okay, you're going to need 2 cans of the hearts of palm. You're going to drop those right into your food processor and just press for a couple seconds. Couple seconds is all it takes. It's already soft because it's kind of in a brine. You don't want to completely mush and mash these up. Just press the button to process them, and look at the texture you get. Bam! That looks exactly like some shredded crab. And by the time you add these other ingredients, it's going to smell and taste just like shredded crab. So let me walk you through this quick and easy but delicious recipe. Just pour your processed hearts of palm into a medium-sized bowl, and then we're going to add the rest of our flavors in 2 different ways. We're going to start with our dry ingredients. So put in your panko breadcrumbs, and then put in some nutritional yeast. We're also going to put in some salt. You just be careful on your salt, because then we are also going to be adding some Old Bay, and that also has some salt in there. But I'm also going to be putting in some granulated kelp. If you don't have seaweed like that, then just get a couple nori sheets and crunch those up, okay? We're also going to put in some parsley and paprika, and I think I got it all. Yeah, a little bit of salt and pepper I mentioned. But start with these dry ingredients and mix it up so that your hearts of palm get sort of coated in all of these different dry ingredients. It just smells wonderful at this point, but you want to make sure you keep mixing it so that you don't have any pieces or blocks that don't have any of these flavors. Now let's add our wet ingredients. We're going to have a half a cup of the mayo. I use Veganese, but there's all kinds of vegan mayo out there. You can even make your own. To that, we're going to also add a teaspoon of lemon juice, a teaspoon of mustard, and a teaspoon of vegan Worcestershire sauce as well. Sometimes that's a tricky one to find, but I always keep an extra bottle because I use it in flavors that you probably wouldn't be surprised. You'd be kind of surprised about. So anyway, mix this well. I'm telling you, this smells so good. You will smell some crab cakes in your kitchen, but it's really the nori sheets, it's the seaweed, it's the Old Bay, and that combination of Worcestershire sauce and all the other herbs and just everything together. This is an absolutely fabulous recipe that comes together so quick. I think washing the mushrooms off take the most time. But once you get it mixed up really well, make sure you always taste a little bit so that you know that you have enough things. If you put too much salt in, you can't get it out. So you might want to taste it a couple times. But put that to the side, put your caps down, and now we're going to start filling your caps. As I mentioned, this is a smaller tray, so depending on how many people you have, if you want a 9 by 13, then you would need to get a big box, not just the 8 ounces. I believe this is like an 8 ounce thing of mushrooms, but when I know I'm going to be feeding a lot, in fact, I use this when I'm catering. I'll do trays of these, and they come together pretty quickly. I put about a tablespoon or 2 in each cap, depending on the size of the cap, and depend on what you want it to look like. If you just want it to be big and fabulous, well, just fill her up, right? Sprinkle some paprika on the end if you like. Done. All our dishes are done. It's been less than 15 minutes. It's time to see the finished product. Look at these roasted vegetables. Brussels sprouts are starting to get nice and crisp. The onions are starting to glaze up a little bit. They have the sweet sugar. The sugar from the maple syrup is going to make them slightly crispy. And then also our corn cake casserole came out at the same time. These both cook on 425 for about 25 minutes. And then our mushrooms came out of the oven not long after that. Look at these. They are delicious. They smell great and they're beautiful. I hope you have a wonderful holiday. Try these. If you do, please comment down below. Again, like and subscribe, and hopefully I will see you in the next video. Merry Christmas, everyone.